Welcome back, everybody, to Practically Social, episode 32. Today we're going to talk about the mood and food connection and how diet and supplements could assist you with things like depression or anxiety and stress. First off, we'd like to talk about walking around the outer edge of the grocery store. This means that everything that is on that outer ring as you're walking through the grocery store, including the fruits and vegetables, this would also be where some of the packaged fruits and vegetables are, as well as the meats, the dairy, and some of the other items that you will find just walking around that outer perimeter of a grocery store. Many nutrition experts recommend shopping around the outer ring of the grocery store where most of the healthy food is offered. Start with the fruit section. And then we move on to some vegetables and things like that. Lots of leafy greens can be helpful for vitamins and minerals that will assist us, and I will get to some of those at the end of this video, what those vitamins and minerals are specifically. The other thing that we get from eating lots of vegetables is we feel better. There's a lot of fiber in it. There's a lot of water in it. Like I said, the vitamins and minerals. And really, depending on what your diet choices are, you may wish to go with something green instead of something red or something meat-oriented. So there's lots of good options there, like these lettuces, living lettuces that I like to pick up when I go to the grocery store. Those are about $3 or so, and they'll usually last me about a week. Avocados are another thing I like. Jalapenos and tomatillos. I like to make my own salsa with this, so throw in some cilantro, some lime, some salt, and it tastes really good. Sweet potatoes are also a great source of starch, so if you're starving and you have some pre-cooked sweet potatoes, those can be really good. They can also be a good treat. These are some of the bagged salads I was talking about before. So if you're on a budget but you don't want to keep a bunch of lettuce around, this is a great way to get some of the salad and the seasoning in there. Guilty pleasure for me is kombucha. It's kind of expensive, but I try to get some of that every once in a while. It's good to try for variety and helps with probiotics and your gut, and also can give you an energy boost. Vegetables, the fresh where possible, are one of the greatest contributors to an overall feeling of well-being. Whether raw in salad or lightly steamed, they offer us multiple benefits. Benefits including high vitamin content depending on the vegetable, fiber and minerals drawn from the soil. Frozen and canned vegetables offer cost-effective options for those busy lifestyles. I'm a big fan of cheese, so I'm showing you some cheese here at my local grocery store. It can be kind of expensive, also taking into consideration whether you're lactose intolerant. Some of these aged cheeses are better for you if that's the case, and they offer a little tasty treat. If you can afford it, they go good in those 1-inch squares. They do offer some protein, calcium, and comfort. Like I said, they're high in carbs and fat in some cases, so you got to watch out for that. Here we've got a various selection of nuts. If you're on paleo or something like that, nuts are a big part of getting some of the protein. Very little carbs, a little higher in fat, but they do offer various oils and things that are really good for your body. Peanuts, cashews, almonds, and walnuts. They provide that low source of protein and some fiber as well as the minerals. Their cost is often high, with walnuts and peanuts being the cheapest, so that's where I tend to gravitate toward. Used to be more like almonds and things like that. So I've got some meat here shown in these tubes. This is ground beef. For a little higher cost, you can get the 91% fat-free. I generally go with the 81%. I do eat meat, so if you're vegetarian, this doesn't apply. However, when you buy these in the tubes, they're a little more cost-effective than when you buy it in a package. Also, you're contributing less trash by not getting one of those styrofoam packages. If you include meat, it is high in protein, which is good for energy and muscle repair. The tubes of beef and turkey or sausage are cost effective. Chicken, tuna, and other meats also come in cans. Protein's really dense. It can be costly and difficult to eat in large amounts in order to get the recommended daily protein, but the alternatives include nuts, beans, hemp hearts, which I really like, dairy, eggs, and all of these other options. Eggs have gotten a little expensive lately, but they work great if you want to boil them up and keep a supply of them for a week or two. Now we'll get into the aisles for a few goodies as well as some of the pitfalls that we're experiencing when we go to the grocery store. Beef broth, really good for making your own soups. There is low sodium varieties of it offered, so I use this as a stock for a lot of the soups that I make, including things like chili. Alternatively, you could use vegetable broth. So this is just going to be carrots, celery, and onions, that kind of a flavor. A word about additives and labels. Look out for MSG, coloring, sugar, and salt content. With varying levels of sensitivity, they can all affect our mood. We all want flavor, and adding your own is usually safer. Here we've got some canned vegetable options. I'll usually go with the green beans, maybe some canned corn. Other things I might get in the can occasionally would be like asparagus. They're really good because, hey, I have fresh vegetables available. If I want, I can just eat straight from the can. And they're very low cost and long-term storage as well. So a good way to get vegetables if you can't keep them fresh in the fridge for very long. And when we have a busy lifestyle, that tends to be the case. Is we'd like to eat fresh vegetables, which are ideal. Making them presentable after a few days may not work out for us. So I sometimes substitute the fresh vegetables with canned vegetables, or I'll get frozen vegetables as well. That way I can make all kinds of different types of food with it, or I can thaw it out, or just, like I said, eat it straight from the can. Fruits I include in that category too, especially the more expensive ones that I do enjoy eating and give a good mood boost, is peach halves, pineapples, mangoes, things like that. It's a good source of vitamin C if you don't have a source of fresh vegetables around, as well as some of the other minerals that we get from eating fruits here. These can also be bought frozen, and as I said before, you'll probably have a significant cost savings over buying things in cans than when you buy them fresh. I think recently some of the fruits have gone up quite a bit in cost, including things like apples, cherries, bananas. All of the fruits have gone up recently due to the rising costs associated with COVID pandemic and the economy changing. Pineapple slices make a great dessert for me as well, so if you find that you have a little bit of a sweet tooth, getting these pineapple slices and breaking out the can opener can really give you some good vitamins and minerals. I like to get the kind that are packed in 100% juice. I don't get the kind that are packed in syrup because there is so much added sugar to that. Canned vegetables and fruits aren't ideal, though they are convenient, storable, and cost effective. In a hurry, they can provide a healthier snack and help fill you up, like when you forget to eat, which for me is sometimes quite often. So, quick snack. A word about soup here as well. I like to eat soup when I'm in a hurry. When I'm working during the day, it provides me a pretty fast working lunch. So you may see me eating some soup here and there. There are vegetarian options as well. Look out for your salt on those. Now let's move on to some of the things that are best used sparingly because of their effect on mood and overall health. Sugar has long been associated with inflammation, diabetes, and weight control issues. I love my ice cream, but I have to be really careful with it. It's not because of the dairy, it's just because it has such a high sugar content. So I'm usually finding myself craving something like this late at night. And sugar has its own effect on depression. If we eat a lot of it, it increases inflammation and also sends us on sugar rushes and sugar crashes, affecting our glycemic index as well. So I stay away from things like these tasty, highly colorful cereals here. Also, I'm not big on grain, so when I'm eating grain, if I'm eating refined grain, it tends to cause me a lot of anxiety. So if you have a sweet tooth, here's kind of a cheat sheet for you. I like to buy these packages of semi sweet chocolate morsels, eat maybe a handful of those, and it kind of covers that sweet craving that I have without going overboard. Next, I want to talk about alcohol, of course, as a depressant. So, everybody has their own relationship with alcohol. Just want to make you aware that it can counter things like antidepressants, medications for bipolar, and other things like that. So, we're trying to avoid it wherever possible so it doesn't affect our mood as a depressant. Also, it can give us hangovers and put us in bad moods because of things like that. So, it does have a benefit. Hey, it's a social thing. Have your drinks here and there. Just keep in mind that it can affect your mood overall. By the same token, we have soda here. Soda pretty high in sugar, high fructose corn syrup, things like that. It makes us feel bloated. It can have a lot of caffeine in it, depending on what it is. And then, some of the others have artificial sweeteners such as aspartame, which have their own neurological effects. It's a blessing and a curse. I understand we all get bored with water. Watch the sugar, the caffeine, and the artificial sweeteners there. Some people just don't like soda because it makes them feel bloated. I want to talk a little bit about energy drinks too. A lot of my clients use these to help them get through their day, or they're feeling really tired and stressed out. So, drinking energy drink after energy drink, not very healthy for us. High in sugar and can lead to accelerated heart rate and anxiety. So, whenever we're talking about caffeine, we always want to say, when is the best time for you to have caffeine? Probably early in the day. Shut it off about noon or so, especially if you're having insomnia. Let's move on to vitamins and supplements, then we'll wrap up with a summary of how food can affect our mood in different ways. Just wanted to show you some of the vitamins here. Gets pretty challenging quickly. What does all this stuff do? Which ones do I need to take? So, if you have depression or anxiety, I make some basic recommendations on this. Again, not a substitute for dietary advice, but vitamin B12. And we'll walk a little ways down here and we're going to look at probably the vitamin C. If you don't have a good source of vitamin C through fruits and vegetables, citrus is a good source of vitamin C. And then we have vitamin D3, especially important in the winter for people with seasonal affective disorder. Vitamin E is also a really good choice. And then we'll walk a little further down here and talk about some of the others that interest me and that I take myself, like spirulina, which is a blue-green algae and has a lot of antioxidant effects. So vitamins and minerals, very important to depression, anxiety. They aid us in getting nutrients we don't get from the food, but food should be the first source. And then I'll list these vitamins out for you as well. And in addition to that, I'll give you some of the benefits of what those are. Last, I want to talk about protein powder and some of the other supplements like creatine. Protein powder can be a great substitute if you don't eat a lot of meat. There's lots of different flavors available for it, such as chocolate and vanilla. I go with the chocolate, it goes pretty well. It tastes kind of like a milkshake. So, protein powders have come a long way. I try to stay away from pre workout and supplements like creatine and things like that because I prefer to just take the natural approach to my workouts there. So, but protein powder can also be helpful if you are doing a lot of workout to help you with that muscle repair and recovery. All right, let's wrap this up. Very important that we eat healthy when we have mental health conditions such as depression, anxiety, high stress, things like that. It's a well known fact that the better that we eat, the better we perform. And seeing that holistically means both mind and body. So I hope you found this video helpful in terms of what I'm suggesting, which is if you have mental health conditions such as depression and anxiety, that you eat this healthy diet, and that where you can't get those foods naturally, we try to supplement that with things that we can afford wherever possible. So we walked around the outer ring of the grocery store there. We did the fruits, we did the vegetables, we walked around to the meat section where the eggs and dairy are. That's all on the outer ring. There are several things inside the inner ring of the grocery store that can be helpful, and those generally fall under the category of seasoning. Some of the vegetable broth that I showed there, that vegetable broth I choose rather than bouillon cubes or ramen seasoning or something like that, because those generally have MSG, a lot of added salt and things like that. So when we're in that inner ring, we're getting a lot more of the processed foods, we're getting more grain based foods, and those are filled with a lot of additives, preservatives, sugar, and salt. So, sugar and salt can affect our physiology, which in turn also affects things like anxiety. So, as your blood pressure increases, you might start to feel more anxious. Talked a little bit too about alcohol, energy drinks, caffeine, those kinds of things. In moderation, they're great, of course. I don't have any problem with them. I use some of them myself. So I'm not trying to be hypocritical. I'm just saying that, hey, especially with alcohol, we need to watch out about how it affects medications and our depression, and riding these cycles of dopamine and things that a lot of excessive alcohol use can bring. Also, keep in mind, I did this video with your affordability in mind, not trying to present any brand preferences or anything here, just trying to show you what choices are, and it's up to you to decide which are the best choices for you. Go with the best you can afford on your budget. Secondly, in terms of organic fruits and vegetables, if you're not eating the exterior of the fruit or vegetable, it doesn't really matter if it's organic. So that means, yes, there's still going to be some of the non organic things used in traditional farming there. But if you can't afford organic food, which a lot of people can't, it just makes sense to buy the stuff that's non organic, even though it's technically organic. You can buy that at a lower price. That adds up fast. And we have a lot of rising food costs in the country right now. So I want to be respectful of that for you. And also, when it comes to supplements, things like protein powder shouldn't be the mainstay of your diet. But if you need it for additional protein, we need about 1 gram per pound of body weight per day of protein. So that's recommended, especially if you have a lot of physical exercise that you're doing. It's really hard to get that, so that's why I suggest the protein powder and some of the meat alternatives. I can't eat 5 chicken breasts in one day, it's just too much. So I'm considering some of those things in presenting this video to you, and also things like some nice high protein things like hemp hearts. No, this isn't made from weed. I don't know that it's going to give you a positive drug screen or things like that. I'm not worried about that. I just like that it has 10 grams of protein. I eat about 3 tablespoons of it. This bag costs about $5 on sale. So it's a nice little snack sometimes. I'm not recommending this brand in particular. Find whichever brand you want. And then also in the vitamin area, one of the things that I highly recommended is the vitamin D. This is 1,000 IU. So I will take about 4 of these 1,000 IU pills per day. In the morning is when I take it, because we're not getting as much sunlight. So the majority of our vitamin D comes from sunlight naturally. So it can be helpful to take some of that vitamin D in the winter, especially for people who have long gray winters and things like seasonal affective disorder. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave those down in the comment field below. Please like and hit subscribe for this video if you haven't already. I do appreciate all the support I've been getting. We're up to about 73 subscribers and over 1,600 views now, so the channel is growing with help from people like you. So I really look forward to seeing you again on next week's Practically Social, where we will be covering shadow work. See you then.